us in a panorama of our shop and repair facilities. Fine porcelain repairs are made by our old-world craftsmen steeped in the experience and skills of restoring fine artifacts to renewed usefulness and display. This may appear to be simple, but the painstaking resculpturing of an arm or finger, or the mixing of the proper amounts of silicates and clay for lasting refiring bond, requires an unusual combination of artistic and mechanical skills and knowledge. It is interesting to note that most people who take pride in owning an antique or valued objet d'art would rather retain it skillfully restored than be deprived of it by a cash payout. Arthur's techniques emphasize refiring of the damaged pieces and restoring them so they can be handled, washed, displayed, and used as they were before being damaged. Use of kiln of this size is only practical when you're doing a large volume of these repairs, and you have the economy of simultaneous refiring of many pieces. While we cannot always assure you of absolute perfection, a loss of value allowance can be much less and more practical than paying a total loss. Restoration of oil paintings which have been exposed to smoke, soot, and water is frequently required by adjusters and claims people. Removal of soot discoloration may or may not be a simple procedure. Is the discoloration the result of a foam rubber fire or a plastic residue? Is it from an oil burner malfunction or a deposit of picric acid? Painstaking trial and utmost caution are hallmarks of the skilled paintings restorer. An accidental tear or hole in a canvas may necessitate relining of the canvas and skilled restoration of the damaged pigment. Mold or mildew damage may require relining to arrest the effects of dry rot. Such repairs should be entrusted only to reliable and responsible craftsmen. The effects of direct heat or water exposure to the finish of furniture pieces after a fire may dictate complete removal of the old finish and rebuilding a new finish. This may involve as many as 8 different steps. Some of them are shown here. obvious savings in mass production cannot be utilized in restoration work, which is usually done on a per-item basis. However, where you have fine antique pieces and the finish has not been blistered or the veneers raised, it may be possible to restore the existing finish and bring it back to its original patina. Demonstrating some of these techniques on a table damaged by water, cross-grained gouges, and cigarette burns is the dean of our furniture restorers, the man with the golden hands. Each kind of damage demands a different treatment and skill. In today's hurry-up world, these skills and techniques are not being replaced because the apprenticeship time is too demanding for the modern young man. Damage to upholstered furniture by direct fire or flame may dictate complete reupholstering. A loss is usually unavoidable when heat or water have left permanent stains or discolored the fabric. Most often, the original fabric for matching a damaged panel, arm, or back is no longer obtainable. However, skilled spotting techniques, expert deodorizing, and the use of modern mildewcides have saved many a fine chair or sofa for continued use. The immediate emergency pickup and plant cleaning of a fine oriental or antique rug may be required after full-scale fire or water damage exposure. 24 hours can be the difference between a 10% and 100% loss. Since of all the exposures, water damage dictates the most immediate restorative action. Removal of stains is most practical before the rugs can dry and the stains set. If action is prompt, damage from dry rot of colors can also be eliminated and the item saved from becoming a total loss. This plush residence is a collector of the French Impressionists. He was extremely concerned about excessive moisture-laden air affecting his Dufys, Matisses, and Braques. These were removed from the walls, treated with mildew inhibitors, and placed in safe storage. The possibility of dye staining and damage from the ozite underpadding of wall-to-wall carpeting is an immediate hazard. However, most claims people and adjusters are unaware of the explosive damage possibilities of molds and mildew exposure from water damage. These molds may spread like wildfire, creating new and extensive damage on items not heretofore damaged. To prevent such peripheral damage, emergency removal of all wet materials from the premises is critical. Too many losses have compounded because the insured, his agent, or the adjuster just sat on their hands while the water damage remained neglected. Water-soaked padding is removed and replaced after the floor has dried. The mold-damaged carpet is treated with mildewcides and then restretched to contain shrinkage. Cigarette burn damage of wall-to-wall carpeting and fine rugs is a bread-and-butter source of business. Our repair expert borrows tufts from another section of the wall-to-wall installation or from a scatter rug or runner and uses them to repair the burned area. By weaving in the tufts and leveling them in place, the repaired area is impossible to find upon completion. Repairs to oriental or antique rugs are generally made in our plant or warehouse premises. From the basement to the attic, every item in this house was cleaned and restored in the Gimbel tradition of painstaking attention to detail. The cleanup of debris from the fire, the soot removal from walls, ceilings and floors, the painting and redecorating, the carpentry repairs were all dovetailed by our emergency repair crews. From an expected 3 months additional living expense loss, we telescoped the repair time to 3 weeks and enabled the insured to live in the home while the repair and cleanup work was in progress. Our knowledge and skills have saved insurance carriers millions of dollars in business interruption and extra expense claims. For generations of New Yorkers, Meet Me at the Astor was a nostalgic reference to a bygone era of charm and graceful living. These newsreel clips show the Holocaust caused by a firebug. At risk, in addition to the real property and contents fire coverage, was over $3 million in convention money contracted to be spent in the grand ballroom, bars, and rooms around the hotel, insured by business interruption and extra expense coverage. Working around the gutted grand ballroom, our emergency crews deodorized the hotel premises, cleaned up and restored the peripheral meeting room areas, and made them available for substitute use by the conventioneers, thus preventing the entire business interruption loss. Priceless murals that seemed to have been obliterated by the heat of the fire were saved and restored by our artists. Antique furniture, carpeting, and draperies were skillfully salvaged and returned to a usable condition. To further the repairs of the grand ballroom, we imported fine Italian craftsmen to augment our own crews. All labored for months to restore this grand ballroom to its original capacity and splendor. A sad note. This prime example of the grandeur of old New York was torn down to make room for a modern skyscraper which combined an office building, hotel, and theater in one structure. We have handled emergencies from coast to coast, from Key West, Florida to Great Falls, Montana, on a new courthouse and jail, on a 12-block-long shopping center with 200 retail shops, and outside the continental USA in Puerto Rico. Have crew, can do. One of our adjuster friends called us to determine the damage and the possibility of restoration of over 350 counter tables and fixtures in this bargain town department store. The manufacturer of the original equipment described the premises as death took a holiday. Everything, in his opinion, was a total loss. The roof of the warehouse was burned away. There were 3 feet of water in the interiors that had to be exhausted. Mountains of debris had to be removed, and repairs to the walls, roof, and floor had to be effected before the furniture damages could be assessed. Management was so impressed with our grasp of their problems that we were awarded the contract to restore the entire interior premises and their contents. The lighting fixtures were cleaned, resprayed, and salvaged. Over 350 counter tables were restored. The interiors were painted, re-signed, and redecorated. A new acoustic ceiling dropped to a 14-foot height was installed, and new departments created. In the meantime, hundreds of Sealand trailers were brought in, and the bargain town store was restocked to the rafters. The reopening was advertised. The big day, and the response by the consuming public. Regardless of the damage, we have repaired it. More than 1/4 of a century of experience handling emergencies and damages is brought to bear on any problem to which we are called. Our restoration crews have handled extensive damage claims from fire, smoke, soot, odor, acid, paint fumes, and explosion, to name the most frequent. In manufacturing plants, businesses, schools, institutions, private homes, and apartments. We've handled over 200 freeze-up calls in 2 days in the New York metropolitan area, and thousands of calls resulting from hurricane damages. Behind this across-the-board service is a crew of expert craftsmen and appraisers ready to respond to your call, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.